Morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean. Bugsy's at home today. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things that you love with those that you love doing them with. Please do me a favour, as you always do, smash the like button, smash the subscribe, hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. Guys, look, I haven't done any content in a week. And I'll tell you why in a second when I update you about what's going to happen with the channel just for the short term. But I also do want to talk a little bit about what's gone on in the last week with regards to one specific topic, Julian Nagelsmann, and the way that Tottenham have tried to enlighten the fan base via spoon-fed PR nonsense. That Nagelsmann is a manager we admire, but he's not someone that we have intentions of speaking to or have spoken to, etc. I'll get to that because I think it's all absolute nonsense, and to be honest, it's once again pivoting my thought processes about the present and the future state of our ownership towards a very negative stance, and I do want to let you know about that. But before I do, guys, little update for you about the channel. Obviously, I haven't been around for the last week, and it's not the first time this year that I've spent a few days away from doing content, and it's because of health issues. I usually just go through these little periods every couple of months for like 4 or 5 days where I feel rubbish, very listless and exhausted, and I have had these issues and weird pains in my abdomen, but I kind of put them to the back of my mind and just put it down to catching a bug or something. But the frequency in which they've come up has increased, and the severity of the discomfort has also increased to the point where started to concern me. So I went to the doctors last week and began the process of having a series of tests. I'm still going through. I've done the blood work, I've done the samples, I've done ultrasounds, and the next part is going for CT scans at the hospital. And in a nutshell, the doctors don't yet know the specifics of what's wrong, but they have identified that there's something wrong with my bile duct and potentially my gallbladder, and that the scans don't look particularly good, to the point where they said that the likely best case scenario is that I'll need an operation, and if it's not what they think it might be, then it could be something worse and more serious. And obviously not knowing is very distressing, and then you go and do like some self-diagnosis on Google, which I'd always advise you don't do, because it's terrifying what they throw back at you. But yeah, in a nutshell, so there's the physical discomfort of sitting at my desk, which is when it's at its worst, and then there's the kind of mental side of it where it's pretty distracting and distressing, and it's not a nice place to be. Consequently, I've taken the decision. I'll let everyone know the usual channels that I stream with: the Irish Hotspur, the Football Heritage with Sava and those guys, We Are Tottenham TV, and Henry Wright, and also the channels that I work with that are not Tottenham specific, and just let them know that until I have some sort of clarity on what's going on with me and the specifics of the treatment, then I'm not going to be doing many live streams for the time being. Hopefully it's not going to be a long leave of absence, but I just wanted to let you know that that's what's going on. And as far as this channel, I did intend to do Friday night weekly streams with a bunch of guys and keep that regular slot, and then even increase and do a second regular slot during the week as well. But for the time being, all of that's put to the back burner as well as a consequence. I will still try to do as often as I can Tottenham walks, but I don't know if you can hear, like I'm struggling to catch my breath just walking at a really slow pace. And I think that's another symptom of whatever's going on in my inside. So I probably won't be doing as frequent stuff, but I will still try my best to get out when there's meaningful content to get off my chest. If anything happens with regards, manager updates or ownership updates or whatever else. On that note, I do want to take a moment to give you my thoughts on that whole story that dropped this week or last week about Tottenham talking about the fact that they respect Julian Nagelsmann as a manager, but that there hasn't been any conversations, nor will there be, and that he won't be the manager of Tottenham. Obviously, first and foremost, if it's true, which we assume that it is, then it's incredibly disappointing, frustrating news. He was my number one choice, and I think that he could have been the guy that could have been the candidate for a long-term project had we been able to answer the questions that he asked, right? But more importantly, where I want to go with this is, I think it's an embarrassing, shameful approach from the club that is so transparent and obvious to anyone with, half a brain to figure out that it's a load of nonsense that Tottenham haven't spoken to Nagelsmann. I mean, maybe they haven't had direct talks, but for sure there was indirect talks between third parties or intermediaries that were feeling out Nagelsmann's interest in the job and whether or not it would have been a good fit. All of the journalists that were handed this press statement a couple of days ago were the same journalists that were talking about, how Tottenham and Nagelsmann are very close. There's a lot of interest to work together. They just need to figure out the answers for the two main questions or the three main questions that Nagelsmann had. And they are, which are very reasonable, by the way. How much money do I have to spend? How much influence do I have in how it's being spent? And who's my boss, i.e. who's the director of football? Three questions that any smart manager would ask if those things were pivotal and instrumental in the ability for him to find success in his post. Now, I've been someone that has said plenty of times on the channel and on live streams that just because there was no media noise around Tottenham talking to directors of football doesn't mean that it's not happening. Remember that Scott Munn came out of nowhere. None of the ITKs, none of the tier ones, none of any of those sources, club insiders, knew anything about Scott Munn before it was announced by the club. And maybe it's just more of a kind of confidential conversation when it comes to board level, employment and appointments. And so you would hope, and I was making this point, you would hope that Daniel Levy is not putting the cart before the horse and having meaningful conversations with managers before he has meaningful conversations, or at least, at the same time, concurrently having conversations with directors of football. And we don't know whether there is truth in that, but the fact that it looks to me, and I think it would look to you, obvious that Nagelsmann has probably turned down the club, probably in no small part because the answers to the questions that he asked were unclear or unavailable. And if that's the case, then it looks like Daniel Levy and the board have put the cart before the horse, and they thought that they could go and have conversations with the manager before they had conversations with directors of football. And if that's the case, then it's a nail in the coffin for me in any kind of perspective that can still reflect on Daniel Levy's present management of the club in any other way than shambolic. I also think that if Donna Maria Cullen is the PR lady at the club and she thinks that this is a way of getting ahead of the news coming out that Nagelsmann rejected us, then she is incredibly naive and almost insulting that she would think that that sort of story would fly and that people would get on board it and believe it. To me, it's a joke, and it again highlights her absolute inadequacies in her job, in her ability, or that team's ability to present narratives that are believable. It was unnecessary to do it in the first place, but to do it and then to make it look so ridiculous that we're another laughing stock is once again unforgivable. And it puts me in an uncomfortable position because I know that I'm thought of around the community, I guess, as more of a sympathizer of Daniel Levy. But as I said, if you do watch my content, you'll know that for the last year I've been very clear that I do think that Daniel Levy has taken us as far as he can go. I do want new owners, as long as the new owners that are coming in are going to do a better job. It doesn't mean that I will change my opinion and reflect on the past. You can separate the past, the present, and the future and reflect on each of them differently. The reason why I was never part of the Levy out crowd is because I believe that those guys reflect on the past with more sort of negativity than I personally share for that reflection. But I absolutely am on board with everyone's current opinion that the club is in a shambles, the club is an absolute mess, and that Daniel Levy and Donna Maria Cullen are embarrassing themselves and embarrassing us with each day that passes. I don't know what the short-term future looks like, but I know right now the general future looks incredibly opaque, incredibly bleak, and it's unclear how we move forward. If we've lost out on Pochettino and we've lost out on Nagelsmann, I don't really understand why they would think that any other manager was a better fit. And so that's why I don't believe the PR statement or the unofficial PR statement that is a PR statement in everything but how it was represented or how it was presented to the Tottenham fans. And I think that Daniel Levy is he's not just on thin ice. That the ice is completely cracking for me. Short of there being some very positive news in the very near future regarding a big name director of football and an exciting managerial appointment, then for me, I think that I support and I'm on board with everybody who is of the Levy out stance. The club is in freefall and disarray, and it looks rudderless. And the people that are in charge of making decisions right now are making bad ones in everything that they do. Treating the fans like idiots is not a way to endear anybody into getting behind the team, getting behind the outfit when times are tough. Like, times are clearly tough right now at Tottenham. There's so much ambiguity and obscurity around, what the plan is, but that to some degree is understandable. That to some level you can get through it together to some level if there is a level of respect to the conversation, and I don't think that there's one being shown by the higher ups at Tottenham. And so, look, for me personally, I'm getting to the point very close now where I've had enough, and it doesn't mean that I've changed my mind on the historical reflection of what Daniel Levy's done, but it does mean that the present and the future, I completely understand where everyone is and support whatever means that they want to show for representing their discontent. Me personally, guys, like I say, I've got bigger fish in my life to fry right now, bigger worries, bigger concerns than Tottenham. So I won't be spending too much time talking about this on live streams for the short term and maybe the medium term. And I'll try and do as often as I can the Tottenham walks. I hope you can understand that and appreciate that I have to prioritise my health and the things that are really important. And hopefully I'll get better and then I can come back fully fit, full of energy, full of beans, and see the next stage of Tottenham through with you guys. Let me know your thoughts on the Nagelsmann stuff, and I appreciate any well wishes that has already been sent my way to the guys that do know what's going on with my health. Very much appreciate you all. I love you all. And like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.